An invasion is coming. This force will soon attack America. The assault is scheduled to arrive next week. Take this very seriously. The warriors of this army are the most vicious and unrelenting combatants on earth. There is nothing they won't do to subvert and destroy our way of life. Narco-terrorists who fill our streets with fentanyl are nothing compared to this expeditionary force, the most evil mercenaries on the planet. Their invasion will be relentless and unyielding. You must take action quickly to protect yourself and those you love. I'm going to give you some clear instructions on what to do to avoid being overrun by this enemy. Take what I say seriously. When you see the invasion reach its apex, it may be too late to cry out to God for help. By then they will have already invaded and entrenched themselves. Who is this implacable enemy? Why do I describe them in such dark terms? I'll have that answer in a moment, so get ready and get serious and take action. As always, before I go any further, like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I say it all the time. Make sure you like us on YouTube and make sure you share this with somebody else. And of course, subscribe. The more numbers that we have, the more it makes us stable on the platform of YouTube. Plus, it also allows you to know what's going to be happening. Sometimes there are special announcements or current events that I respond to quickly live. You will be the first to know. And thank you so much for your consistent support of the ministry. You can text the word GIVE to 833-361-4711 or go to boblarson.org and click on Donate. I mentioned last week something that we are calling Freedom Partners. This is an attempt, a calling from the Lord, to pull together a group of people who believe in and understand what this ministry stands for and has stood for since 1971. And to keep it economically stable for now, so we continue to do the work that God has called us to do, plus provide a legacy for many generations yet to come. I need you to help sustain that enduring legacy of this ministry and this calling and all that has been accomplished by God's grace. I'll have more to say about this later, but for right now, if you have not been to boblarson.org/freedom partner, please do it right now. That's boblarson.org/freedom partner. Thank you for your help and for your very kind and generous support so we can keep setting people free in the name of Jesus. Laura and I want you to partner with us to fulfill the calling of this ministry, to minister healing and deliverance, so tormented souls can truly get free, stay free, and live free.
Since 1971, Bob has ministered to millions in more than 100 countries. His 50 books and thousands of videos have set the standard for biblically credible deliverance, healing, and exorcism.
God has called us to rescue the tormented through direct personal ministry, to equip spiritual warriors through the training of Bob Larson University, and to champion biblical truth when so many churches remain silent about spiritual warfare.
Every day, Bob shares with me stories of desperate people in impossible situations who have been changed by the power of Christ. Bob has a lifelong commitment to this ministry. He has a heart for those who don't know how to escape the endless cycle of suffering because of generational curses and tormenting demons.
The financial commitment you make to be a partner with this ministry sets people free in real time all over the world. In an average week, we minister virtually to desperate souls on every continent in diverse forms of spiritual bondage. We answer hard questions and correct bad beliefs, and by God's grace, change the legacy of generations yet to come.
Our hearts are with those who have been ignored by the church and considered hopeless by counselors. Bob's gift from the Lord is to find the demonic reasoning holding people in bondage. He ministers to those from all walks of life, from professionals to everyday workers. highly educated to those who have missed life's opportunities because of Satan's attacks. And Bob is committed to the legacy of training a generation of spiritual warriors who will carry this message to every place on the planet.
By becoming a frontline freedom partner, you'll stand with us to rescue those afflicted by Satan and equip future generations with proven methods and biblically sound approaches to healing the brokenhearted, setting the captives free, and bringing forth the truth that through Jesus Christ you can get free, stay free, and live free. Who is behind this invasion I've been speaking about? It's not an enemy from foreign shores. It's not armed with guns, drones, rockets. The coming invasion next week is spiritual, and the enemy lands on our shores Friday, October the 31st, Halloween. The commander-in-chief of this army of evil is Lucifer, and his spiritual soldiers are demons. This invasion force is a horde of Celtic druid demons who've been given carte blanche by our culture to invade with little opposition. These demons aren't after the prostitutes and the drug dealers, not even the international criminals of the deep state. This evil invasion force is after you. Culture and popular consensus has invited them in through making Halloween the second biggest holiday of the year. And only you, as a child of God who believes that witchcraft in its worst form is not to be conceded to, we have the ability to stop these horrors from hell. Long before the current crop of Christian social media influencers started condemning Halloween from a biblical perspective, by God's grace, I was warning Christians about Halloween many decades ago. Back then, I was an outlier. In fact, even conservative churches didn't like me attacking Halloween. They didn't take it seriously. At that point in our cultural history, there was very little understanding of the role that witchcraft plays in our society. But today, most people realize that witchcraft, in both its organized and New Age variants, represents a very serious threat to Christianity. So as a result, through the years, Christian criticism of Halloween has intensified. And I'm glad to see others have jumped on the bandwagon and are joining our cause of opposing recognition of Halloween by Christians. There are still some holdouts who claim it's just a fun day and no one should take ghosts and goblins and bats and wrinkled witch hags seriously. Well, thank God they're in a minority. That's good. But what's needed is something deeper than scare tactics about avoiding Halloween. That's why I want to explain to you the history of the demonic religious practices from which Halloween springs forth. And I'm sure the explanation I'm going to be giving you is not something you've heard from anybody else. It's not something you've read from anybody else. It's a unique perspective on this. You know, I love studying the historical and religious roots of cultures. I do that a lot. So let me take you on a journey to discover history. The people who first celebrated October 31 as a day of the devil, and that takes us back nearly 3,000 years to the ancient Celts. What did the ancient cults have to do with a holiday of Halloween? Well, the story of Celts began in ancient Europe, long before the rise of even the Roman or Germanic tribes. It was around 1200 to 800 BC. That's a long time ago. Those people would become known as the Celts, and they emerged from regions that roughly correspond to modern-day southern Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic. These early cults were very skilled and fearsome warriors. They expanded westward and northward, conquering much of Central Europe and spreading into what is now Western France. Now, that is what we know as ancient Gaul, Gaul. And they also went into the British Isles. The Celts were an empire of tribes bound by common gods, Hecate and Samhain. Let me spell that for you. Hecate, Hecate, and Samhain, as it's pronounced in Welsh, Sahwain. These were the witchcraft spirits from which you get the traditions of Halloween. Now, the Celts and Gaul became opponents of Rome on the mainland of Europe. In fact, they even invaded and sacked and burned to the ground the city in 390 BC. In the 1st century BC, the Celts settled in Britain and Ireland where Roman legions could never fully subdue them. And it is here, in the British Isles and particularly in Ireland, that the Druids conducted human sacrifices to gain power. The Druids believed in reincarnation. They believed that the groves and the trees and the springs around them were sacred portals to the unseen world. The Druids were the most brutal of all witchcraft cults in history. I'm going to explain more about this. And listen up. I'm going to give a special warning to anyone who is Irish or has Irish ancestors. That includes me. But first, let me reference something that I shared last week. If you are on our mailing list, you've been getting emails from me about these efforts I mentioned a moment ago to establish a base of support to carry on this ministry with stability. Quite honestly, this kind of ministry, because it's not widely supported by the mainstream evangelical community, has always had its ups and downs. But by God's grace, we've persevered for over 5 decades since 1971 to establish credibility for the ministry of deliverance. Not something that's fly-by-night, not something that cannot be respected by the medical and the scientific and the psychological community, but something that is very, very serious and almost forensic and deliberate in the way that it goes about it. That has been what we have tried to model. And now the Lord has directed me to a way that you and I can join together to set people free in the name of Jesus. The mission is very simple. As I said a moment ago, what we're trying to do is stabilize the ministry and provide a platform for future unseen generations. The ministry is very simple. Sustain spiritual rescues. The immediate intervention with biblical help. Just like people see all the time in this ministry, day after day. You know, as I sit in front of this camera right now, I just finished 3 days spending all day with some of the most desperate cases that I've ever handled. Laura was right by me every single moment. And it was a battle, an incredible battle. But the battle was won and Jesus got the glory and he got the victory. And we see this day after day. You don't see it back beyond these cameras, but it's going on all the time. Spiritual rescue constantly going on, immediate intervention in the lives of people. That's our first mission. Secondly, God's given me a vision to equip spiritual warriors. It's not just about me. We're training others to minister healing and deliverance. We have deliverance teams all over the world, scores of teams in countries around the globe. In fact, soon I'm going to be meeting with our European teams and talking to them and teaching them and training them. This all goes on behind the scenes. You don't see much about it, but it's a very real part of this ministry. And your consistent financial support helps us to train others to minister healing and deliverance and raise up more associate ministers and deliverance teams. Well, we're not only here to rescue people and to train people, but one of the biggest burdens of this ministry is to teach generational restoration. Very simply, break family curses. Secure a legacy of freedom for many, many decades to come. You've heard me say it before. I've said it many times. It's all about the children. The demons will say to me over and over again, all right, I know I'm defeated in the life of this person, but give me the kids. Give me the children. They try to make a deal. They try to get me to bargain off their children to leave the person who is the parent. They want that next generation. They want them young. They want them innocent. But as I've said to many people who have broken the family curses and they've gotten free from Satan's captivity, now your children have a fresh start that you never had. So whether it's immediate rescue efforts or training or teaching generational restoration and how to break family bloodline iniquities, there are basically three ways that you can help. Please listen and be very carefully. First of all, you could be a compassionate rescuer. That's somebody who shares just $30 a month. Come on, you can't even go to a fast food restaurant with a family of four and get out of there with that. But that would fund, on your behalf, ministry intervention for an entire year, sustaining at least one or more spiritual rescue efforts. Just you can make that happen. And secondly, if you're not a compassionate rescuer, if you could do a little more and share at least $100 or more a month, become a ministry maker. That means training a deliverance minister who will go out in the name of Jesus and reach scores of people every year as a spiritual warrior, fighting on behalf of you and the gift that you've given. Some of you have the ability to be a legacy liberator. For $250 or more a month, not much to ask, you will fund family freedom from curses. You'll establish a new godly legacy free from demonic bondage. And I've been asking for 197 people. That's based on 1971, where we started. Just between now and in the next few weeks, to be a founding freedom partner, whether at the $30, $100, or $250 level. We're going to send you a certificate. We're going to put your name on it and in our partner prayer book, and we're going to pray over it regularly. We're going to give you access to special reports, a quarterly Zoom call, complimentary access to our streaming platform, Xdunamis. Well, there's a lot to digest here. And I have much more to say about Halloween, especially to those of you who have Irish ancestry. But first, I need you right now to take to heart what I've said. There's a lot of teaching left, stuff you've never heard about, no one has ever told you. And it's really going to help to cement your convictions about this whole business of witchcraft in our culture and Halloween. But I need those of you who have been helped by this ministry. And there are hundreds of you watching me. You have been helped. Family members have been helped. You know the value of this ministry. Please go right now to boblarson.org/freedom partner. Just take a moment. Take action. Here's a reminder of the vision that God has given to me and Laura for this ministry. Laura and I want you to partner with us to fulfill the calling of this ministry, to minister healing and deliverance, so tormented souls can truly get free, stay free, and live free.
Since 1971, Bob has ministered to millions in more than 100 countries. His 50 books and thousands of videos have set the standard for biblically credible deliverance, healing, and exorcism.
God has called us to rescue the tormented through direct personal ministry, to equip spiritual warriors through the training of Bob Larson University, and to champion biblical truth when so many churches remain silent about spiritual warfare.
Every day, Bob shares with me stories of desperate people in impossible situations who have been changed by the power of Christ. Bob has a lifelong commitment to this ministry. He has a heart for those who don't know how to escape the endless cycle of suffering because of generational curses and tormenting demons.
The financial commitment you make to be a partner with this ministry sets people free in real time all over the world. In an average week, we minister virtually to desperate souls on every continent in diverse forms of spiritual bondage. We answer hard questions and correct bad beliefs, and by God's grace, change the legacy of generations yet to come.
Our hearts are with those who have been ignored by the church and considered hopeless by counselors. Bob's gift from the Lord is to find the demonic reasoning holding people in bondage. He ministers to those from all walks of life, from professionals to everyday workers, to highly educated to those who have missed life's opportunities because of Satan's attacks. And Bob is committed to the legacy of training a generation of spiritual warriors who will carry this message to every place on the planet.
By becoming a frontline freedom partner, you'll stand with us to rescue those afflicted by Satan and equip future generations with proven methods and biblically sound approaches to healing the brokenhearted, setting the captives free, and bringing forth the truth that through Jesus Christ you can get free, stay free, and live free. Caution, warning, to all those with Irish ancestors. And that includes me. My grandmother, on my father's side, was Irish. Our oldest daughter has beautiful red Irish hair and complexion. So that makes me about 1/4 Irish. And yes, I've broken Irish curses. But to help you understand how curses work through generational iniquities in specific geographical regions through particular descendants and religious groups, I'm going to show you just a short teaching portion from Bob Larson University. Now, at Bob Larson University, there are 4 departments. That includes 60 courses, 50 hours of video training. Now, the first department, the International School of Exorcism. You need to get started in that right away. That is 30 courses. But then you can go on to what we call the Advanced Academy of Deliverance. Now, that is 10-hour-long courses that take you to another level of deliverance that you've never heard about. You're not going to see anybody else teach about it at that depth. But there are a couple of courses in that 10-course department of the Advanced Academy of Deliverance that explain how demonic kingdoms exist within a certain geographical area. And basically what the Lord led me to do was to divide the world up into 17 ethnocentric regions, each with their own curses, their own demons, their own religious traditions, and hold people in spiritual bondage. But for the purpose of what I'm talking about today, we're going to take you to the geographical area of the British Isles and in point, the Irish and the Druids. Let me say before we go any further, I love Ireland. I have been there. The cliffs of Moher, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. We have some great pictures of me and our family there. And we've traveled all over Ireland. Great people, great tradition, historic faith. But before all of that, there was the Druids. So I'm not knocking the Irish. I am significantly part Irish. But it's before the Ireland that we know now, that became Christianized, that the Celts established demonic activity as bad as anybody who's ever done so on the face of the earth. Now, conservative Christian opposition to Halloween generally centers on the pagan occult and morally compromising elements. Witches, ghosts, demons, magic. Halloween glamorizes and trivializes evil. And satanic forces. The Bible warns against this, Deuteronomy 18, 10 through 12, Ephesians 5, 11. So embracing Halloween runs the danger of desensitizing children and adults to evil, darkness, fear, death. It promotes a fascination with the macabre rather than with holiness, purity, and life in Christ. So what do? When you want to hold back this evil invasion of Halloween? Well, just a moment. I'm going to share with you 4 things that you need to do. But first, take a look at this excerpt from the Advanced Academy of Deliverance where I talk about the Druids, what they did, how vile and evil they were, and how that fits into those of you who might have some Irish ancestry and Druid curses that I often run into that you don't know about. 35 million people in America, 11% of the population, trace their ancestry back to that small island, Ireland. Now, we're encompassing genealogically in terms of history, Ireland as being what we know today as Ireland and Northern Ireland, but also Scotland, Wales, and part of Great Britain. The dominant religious practice of that area was witchcraft and Druidism. And if you go back from 2000 to 4500 BC, Neolithic shamanism. I've had the opportunity in Ireland to visit some of those Neolithic sites. And one of the things that comes across very strongly in witnessing these sites, going back millennia upon millennia, is that once again, human sacrifice was such a consistent and important part of how they propitiated the weather, crops, all types of demons that had to be appeased for their survival. What are the dominant demons in that area? Well, Druidism dates back many centuries before Christ. So these pagan gods of the time predominate. One of them is Anya. That was a type of Jezebel. Arwan is another god of the dead. Bridget, common name in our society, was actually a form of the goddess Jezebel spirit and gave the art of divination to the people. You also find, guess who? The Nordic gods. Loki, Freya, Odin, Thor. They were adopted. So what were the characteristics of this culture? Druid human sacrifice was documented by many Romans, including Julius Caesar himself. He described something that many archaeologists today try to poo-poo and dismiss because they don't want to accept the truth and the reality of this culture. Caesar described something called the wicker man, which was a straw or wooden figure into which a human being was placed. It was set on fire, and then the individual was burned alive. And by the way, this is the historical root for the so-called Burning Man Festival that's held out there in the desert in Nevada every year. And that's why that festival, because of its roots, going back to ancient Druidism, has so much occult, sexual, sorcery, and New Age overlay to it. Now, the Druids did practice human sacrifice, and their favorite way of doing it was not quite like the Aztecs who mass-produced it. They just plunged a knife into the person, into their chest. Much modern sorcery and witchcraft, particularly in the New Age movement, is rooted in Irish Druidism. And since the Druids were primarily matriarchal, it's very important to note that they have many goddess demons in their religion. And the revival of modern witchcraft today, preferring themselves to be called Wiccans, is mostly traced back to Celtic Druidism. So how should you handle Halloween? I've already talked about this being an evil invasion, and it is. It's actually an evil invasion that starts well before Halloween. I noticed back in the first week of August this year, many stores were already rolling out the candy and the Halloween costumes and all the other accoutrements that you see on the front lawns of people in your community. So these people, from a merchandise standpoint, take it very seriously. Like I said earlier, it's the second biggest holiday of the year in terms of the economy and the amount of money that people spend on celebrating. It's almost approaching Christmas in its deviltry. So what do? All right, 4 things. Listen to me carefully. This is my advice. First of all, ignore the day. It doesn't exist. That's what our family has always done. We don't celebrate it in any way, shape, or form. To us, it's just another day to serve the Lord and do what He's called us to do. It's another day for you to serve the Lord and do what He's called you to do with your life and your family. Ignore it. Look the other way. In the Christian realm, it doesn't exist. Pray. That's the second thing I want you to do. You know, Halloween is a great time to do deliverance or get deliverance. It's a wonderful opportunity to pray against the forces of darkness at work in your city or your neighborhood. Pray, pray, pray. Pray the powers of darkness will be restrained by the power of Christ through the prayers of God's people. Pray for your family. Deal with some of the issues spiritually in your own life at this time of year when you see evil full force in your face. Pray, pray, pray. So ignore it, pray for it. And the third thing you can do is use it to teach. Take what you're learning from this podcast today. Share this podcast with others. Tell them where to find it on YouTube. Especially young children. I'm not saying anything today that a child would not need to hear, of course. All right, let's co-opt what the devil is doing. He wants to do that. We'll use it to teach about what demons and the devil and witchcraft are really all about. And the fourth thing I want you to do, listen to me carefully, this is the most important. Because of the heightened focus on extreme evil, in your face, out to get you, why don't you just stop and do a personal inventory over your own life? The sins that you are allowing right now, the sins that you're walking in right now, or the sins of evil of your ancestors concerning the occult. If you've never done curse-breaking prayers for ancestors who are involved in any form of the occult or fortune-telling or folk magic, now's a good time to deal with it. And while the devil has this invasion going on, you're pushing back in your own life and in the lives of those you love by cutting off the evil ancestries. That's what I was talking about a moment ago when I discussed one of the main things this ministry has set out to do, and that is change the destinies of entire families, of entire legacies, by getting that garbage out of your life. And especially do this if someone in your family is Irish. So while the rest of the world is talking about evil and ghosts and goblins and all this kind of stuff, gravestones, skeletons, what a great time to talk to people about breaking curses. What a great time to create a new generational legacy in your family, a legacy of freedom. There you go. Redeem the time. Redeem the day. Turn the tables on the devil. And take what he means for evil and let God bring good to it. Week after week, countless videos, our shorts, all the hundreds of videos on our streaming channel, Xdunamis, through 50 books. What we've been able, by God's grace, to accomplish is astounding to me because I see the hand of God upon it through the years. But most importantly, we must make sure the next generation, your children and your grandchildren, are free to walk with Jesus Christ because of the decisions that you've made for you and for them. And that's why you need to be a freedom partner. It's one of the ways that you can do that. Remember, $30 a month allows us to intervene and rescue people. $100 a month trains a deliverance minister who will go out and reach scores and hundreds of people. $250 a month funds family deliverances for freedom for curses to establish a godly legacy. I know you want to do that. So stop right now. Just take a moment. Go to boblarson.org/freedom partner. That's not hard to remember, so just lock it in your mind. Sometime in the next few moments, just go there, boblarson.org/freedom partner, and say, I'm going to be a freedom partner. And pray about what God would have you to do and how he would have you to sow into this ministry. Can I honestly say to you, I doubt there are few more incisive analyses of Halloween than what you've just heard. That really explains what's behind it, the roots of it, and how it's come down through the generations. Even Julius Caesar, among the great Roman generals before becoming emperor of the Roman Empire, wrote about the terror, the barbarism, the bloodthirsty human sacrifices of the Druids. This is well established in history. And here we are, adopting their day to Lord Samhain and Jezebel, Hecate. This is dangerous stuff, folks. We're here to warn you, we're here to help you, and to create that next liberated generation. Thank you so much for going to boblarson.org/freedom partner and doing what you can, or just going to boblarson.org and clicking on donate. Thank you so much for your prayers, for your support as we continue this fight to inform people, to free people, and to train another generation to carry forth this message that no matter what the devil has done to you, even if you're Irish, you can get free, stay free, and live free. How you feeling?
I feel amazing. I feel so free, and I feel God's spirit, and I have hope for the first time in forever. So thank you Jesus.
What happened today?
I don't know, today's miracle happened. I mean, I feel so good now, so empty. I mean, it was too much pressure. I was screaming. I don't even remember. Something happened good. Thank you to Jesus. He relieved me from all these demons wherever I was. Make my life terrible.
Thank the Lord above, and thank you, Dr. Larson. If it wasn't for you, it wouldn't have happened. God bless. Oh, thank the Lord. I feel lighter.
Your financial support and prayers make it possible for us to bring hope for the hurting and freedom to those in spiritual bondage. For the latest information regarding ministry outreaches, go to boblarson.org or call 303-980-1511.